Subscribe, like, and hit the hype button to play our biggest game ever.
Throughout history, warfare has been defined not just by strategy and numbers, but by something far more primal: fear. Some warriors were so terrifying, their reputation alone could win a battle before it even began. They were masters of psychological warfare, brutal efficiency, and raw power. Today, we're counting down the 10 most feared warriors in history. Who turned the tide of battle with sheer terror? Let's find out. Kicking off our list at number 10 are the Apache warriors of the American Southwest. They weren't an army in the traditional sense. They were masters of their environment. Using unparalleled knowledge of the harsh desert terrain, they perfected guerrilla warfare. They could strike without warning and vanish without a trace, making them seem like ghosts to their enemies, including the U.S. Army. Their leader, Geronimo, became a symbol of this terrifying, elusive resistance. At number 9, the Knights Templar. More than just knights, they were a fanatical military order. Bound by a strict code and immense wealth, they were the shock troops of the Crusades. Clad in their white mantles with the iconic Red Cross, their charge was a terrifying sight. They were disciplined, fearless, and believed they had a divine mandate, which meant they would fight to the last man, never surrendering. This fanaticism made them a dreadful enemy. Our 8th most feared warrior is the Aztec Jaguar warrior. These were the elite infantry of the Aztec Empire, and their goal wasn't just to kill, but to capture. They wore terrifying jaguar pelts and helmets to channel the animal's strength. Armed with the maquahuitl, a wooden club embedded with razor-sharp obsidian blades, they could maim and disable opponents for ritual sacrifice later. The combination of their fearsome appearance and brutal weaponry was pure psychological warfare. At number 7, we have the warriors that terrified even the mighty Romans. The Celts. Before a battle, hundreds of Celtic warriors would work themselves into a frenzy, screaming and banging their swords on their shields to create a deafening wall of sound. Many fought with little armor, covered in swirling blue body paint called woad, with their hair spiked with lime. This wild, terrifying charge was designed to break an enemy's spirit before a single sword was swung. Number 6 is the legendary samurai of feudal Japan. The fear they inspired was less about wild frenzy and more about cold, lethal skill. Masters of the katana, a blade so sharp it was said it could cut a man in two, their entire life was a meditation on duty and death. Governed by the code of Bushido, they valued honor above all else and were unafraid to die. Facing a samurai meant facing an opponent with no fear, only flawless, deadly technique. Entering the top 5 are the Bulgarian warriors under the command of Khan Krum. In the early 9th century, they faced the full might of the Byzantine Empire. At the Battle of Pliska, Krum's forces trapped the massive Byzantine army in a mountain pass and annihilated them. But what made Krum truly terrifying was what he did next. He captured the Byzantine emperor, Nicephorus I, had him executed, and lined his skull with silver, turning it into a personal drinking cup. This ultimate act of desecration sent a chilling message. Not even an emperor was safe. At number 4, the ultimate warrior society, the Spartans. From the age of 7, Spartan boys were entered into the agoge, a brutal training regime that forged them into living weapons. Their strength wasn't just individual, it was collective. As hoplites in a phalanx formation, they were an impenetrable wall of bronze, wood, and muscle. They were taught to feel no pain and no fear, only discipline. To face the Spartans was to face a killing machine that would never break and never run. Breaking into our top 3 are the Viking Berserkers. These weren't just raiders, they were the terrifying vanguard of a Viking attack. Believed to enter a trance-like fury called Berserker Gang, they would howl like wild animals, bite their shields, and fight with a reckless, unstoppable rage. They seemed immune to pain and possessed superhuman strength. Whether fueled by ritual or pure adrenaline, facing a berserker was like facing a rabid bear in human form. Our runner-up at number 2 is the Hashashin. Operating from the mountain fortress of Alamet, these were the world's original assassins. Their fear factor wasn't on the open battlefield, but in the heart of enemy territory. They were masters of stealth, disguise, and infiltration. Their killings were public and political, designed to create maximum paranoia. No one, no matter how powerful, felt safe. They proved that a single dagger in the dark is scarier than an entire army. And the number 1 most feared warrior in history is the Mongol horse archer. Under Genghis Khan, these warriors conquered more land in 25 years than the Romans did in 400. Their fear was one of scale and inevitability. A horde of horse archers could darken the sky with arrows, retreat before any counterattack, and repeat this until their enemy was annihilated. They were fast, self-sufficient, and utterly ruthless. Their policy was simple: submit and live, or resist and your city will be wiped from the face of the earth. Here are a few honorable mentions who were just as terrifying. First, the Persian Immortals, an army that seemed to never lose a man. Their numbers were always replenished overnight, creating an illusion of invincibility that demoralized their foes. Next, the Maori warriors of New Zealand. Their ceremonial haka was a terrifying pre-battle ritual of stomping, chanting, and facial contortions, designed to intimidate and declare their absolute strength. And finally, the Comanche. So skilled on horseback, they were considered a single entity with their mounts. Their lightning-fast raids and incredible archery skills made them the undisputed and feared lords of the Southern Plains. From the lone assassin to the unstoppable horde, these warriors mastered the art of fear, proving it to be as powerful a weapon as any sword or spear. Their legends have echoed through the centuries, reminding us of the terrifying power of a fearsome reputation. Who did we miss on our list? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more top 10 facts. We'll see you next time.
You did it! You uncovered the secret code hidden deep within the shadows of the unknown. Not many adventurers make it this far, you know. I'm Pingy, guardian of riddles and relics, and I've been watching your progress. Keep your wits sharp. This was just the beginning. More hidden wonders lie ahead, waiting for curious minds like yours.
Subscribe, like, and hit the hype button to play our biggest game ever.
Across the sands of time, great empires rise and fall. But some don't just fall, they vanish. They leave behind silent cities, impossible structures, and writing we can no longer read. They are history's greatest ghost stories, whispers of entire worlds that were simply lost. These are the top 10 ancient civilizations that mysteriously vanished. Long before Columbus, North America was home to a sprawling city larger than London at the time. Near modern-day St. Louis, the Cahokia people built enormous earthen mounds aligned to the stars. They were a complex society of thousands, yet by 1350, this great city was completely abandoned. There are no signs of invasion, only theories of climate change, disease, or political collapse that left a ghost town in the heart of America. In the tropical lowlands of south-central Mexico, Mesoamerica's mother culture was born. The Olmec were master artisans, carving colossal stone heads with such detail they seemed to live and breathe. They built the first pyramids in the region and likely developed the first writing system. But around 400 BC, their great centers were systematically desecrated and abandoned, their influence vanishing as if into the jungle itself. From the harsh deserts of Jordan, the Nabateans carved an empire out of trade and rock. They were master hydraulic engineers, creating lush oases in the desert to support their magnificent capital, Petra. This entire city, with its breathtaking treasury and monastery, was carved directly into the red sandstone cliffs. But after being absorbed by the Roman Empire and trade routes shifted, their spectacular city was gradually abandoned to the sands. From modern-day Ethiopia rose the Aksumite Empire, a major player in trade between the Roman Empire and ancient India. They were a wealthy, powerful kingdom, one of the first in the world to officially adopt Christianity. They erected enormous single-stone stelae, or obelisks, as grave markers for their rulers. But with the rise of Islam disrupting trade routes and potential climate change, their power waned and their kingdom faded from the world stage. The Khmer Empire of Southeast Asia built what is still the largest religious monument in the world, Angkor Wat. Their capital, Angkor, was a sprawling metropolis of over 1 million people, supported by a massive and complex water management system. They dominated the region for 600 years. Yet in the 15th century, the capital was suddenly moved, and the great city of Angkor was left to be consumed by the jungle, its collapse still debated by scholars. The ancestral Puebloans built astonishing cities high up in sheer cliff faces. Places like Mesa Verde and Chaco Canyon were centers of culture and astronomy. For over 1,000 years they thrived, building great houses and kivas. Then within a single generation around the year 1300, they abandoned these incredible cliff palaces, migrating south. A great drought is the leading theory, but the speed of their departure remains a profound mystery. These were the heroes of Greek legend: Agamemnon, Achilles, Odysseus. The Mycenaeans of mainland Greece were a warlike culture of powerful citadel kingdoms, like Mycenae, with its iconic Lion Gate. They built massive tombs, traded across the Mediterranean, and used a script called Linear B. But around 1200 BC, their world ended in fire. Nearly every major Mycenaean center was destroyed and abandoned in what historians call the Bronze Age collapse, a dark age that swept the entire region. In what is now Pakistan and northwest India, one of the world's 3 earliest civilizations flourished. The Indus Valley people, or Harappans, built meticulously planned cities with advanced sanitation systems, like Mohenjo-daro. They had standardized weights and measures and traded with Mesopotamia. But their greatest mystery is their writing. We still cannot read it. And why their massive, orderly cities were abandoned remains one of history's biggest enigmas. On the island of Crete lived the Minoans, Europe's first great civilization. They were not warlike, building no walls around their cities. Instead, they built vast, labyrinthine palace complexes like Knossos, decorated with vibrant frescoes of leaping dolphins and bull leapers. Their sea-based trading empire was powerful and rich, but their world came to a sudden, violent end. Palaces were burned and their culture vanished, possibly due to a cataclysmic volcanic eruption on a nearby island. In the jungles of Mesoamerica, the Maya built towering pyramid temples, developed the most advanced writing system in the ancient Americas, and created calendars of breathtaking accuracy. Their great cities like Tikal and Calakmul were home to hundreds of thousands. They understood the concept of zero and tracked the stars. Then, in the southern lowlands, a sudden collapse occurred. Within a century, their greatest cities were abandoned to the jungle, and the population plummeted for reasons still fiercely debated. From the Americas to Africa, the stories are the same. Greatness followed by silence. Honorable mentions must go to the Rapa Nui of Easter Island, who raised giant statues before their society collapsed, the Greenland Norse, who vanished from their icy settlements, and the builders of Göbekli Tepe, who purposefully buried the world's first temple 11,000 years ago. These civilizations remind us that nothing is permanent and that history still holds mysteries we may never solve.
Subscribe, like, and hit the hype button to play our biggest game ever.
History isn't a finished story, it's an active investigation. For every fact we know, there's a question we can't yet answer. Some civilizations left behind clues so baffling, they continue to stump the world's greatest minds. They are history's great unsolved cases. So grab your magnifying glass as we explore the top 10 ancient civilizations that still hold secrets. Before the Romans dominated Italy, there were the Etruscans, a vibrant and sophisticated culture in ancient Tuscany. They were master artisans and engineers, living in wealthy city-states. But their secrets are twofold. First, their origins are still debated. Were they native Italians or migrants from the East? And second, while we can read their alphabet, their language is unrelated to any other in Europe, meaning many of their texts remain a beautiful but profound mystery. South of Egypt, along the Nile, rose a powerful African kingdom, Kush. Its later capital, Meroe, was a bustling hub of iron production, with its own unique style of steep-sided pyramids. For a time, they were so powerful they even ruled Egypt as the 25th dynasty. But their greatest secret is their language. While we have hundreds of texts in Meroitic script, we've only deciphered a handful of words, leaving the history of this great civilization, told in their own words, almost completely locked away. In 1986, workers in China stumbled upon a discovery that rewrote ancient history. They found pits filled with artifacts from a previously unknown Bronze Age culture, now called Sanxingdui. The art is unlike anything else from the period. Giant, 8-foot-tall bronze figures, golden masks, and stylized heads with alien-like features. They left no writing, no text, and their settlements vanished. Who were they? What did these masks represent? The answers remain buried. Mesoamerica's mother culture, the Olmec, left behind some of the ancient world's most impressive sculptures. Multi-ton colossal heads, carved with incredible realism. But who do they depict? Were they gods or powerful rulers? And while they likely had a writing system, we have so few examples that their language and history are almost a blank slate. After 1,000 years of dominance, their great centers were abandoned, and their culture was reclaimed by the jungle. Discovered in the 1990s, Göbekli Tepe in Turkey completely upended our understanding of the past. It is the world's oldest known temple, built 6,000 years before Stonehenge. What's the mystery? It was built by hunter-gatherers, people we thought lacked the social organization for such a massive project. And after centuries of use, its builders did something even stranger. They purposefully and carefully buried their entire temple under tons of earth, preserving it for millennia. In the arid plains of southern Peru, the ancient Nazca people created the world's largest art gallery. But there's a catch. You can only see it from the sky. These are the Nazca lines, giant geoglyphs of animals, plants, and geometric shapes created by removing the reddish desert pebbles to reveal the lighter ground underneath. They are so massive and precise, the central secret isn't how they were made, but why. Were they offerings to sky gods, an astronomical calendar, or something else entirely? Europe's first great civilization, the Minoans of Crete, were brilliant artists and sea traders. We've decoded their later script, Linear B, because it was an early form of Greek. But their original older writing system, Linear A, remains a tantalizing mystery. It's the language of their golden age, inscribed on tablets detailing the economy of their grand palaces. We can see their world, but until we crack this code, we cannot truly hear their voices. On the most remote inhabited island on Earth, the Rapa Nui people accomplished an incredible feat. They carved and transported nearly 1,000 massive stone statues, or moai. The secrets are many. How, with no wheels or large animals, did they move these multi-ton giants? What did their now undeciphered Rongorongo script say? And what caused their advanced society to collapse? The silent, staring faces of the moai offer no easy answers. The classic Maya were one of the ancient world's most brilliant cultures. They built towering cities, had advanced mathematics, and tracked the stars with incredible precision. But around the 9th century, their civilization in the southern lowlands entered a terminal decline. Their great cities were abandoned, their population plummeted, and the jungle reclaimed their temples. The secret isn't that they collapsed, but the exact recipe for disaster that brought this great civilization to its knees. Our number one is one of the biggest question marks in all of history. The Indus Valley civilization was one of the world's first great urban cultures, as large as ancient Egypt or Mesopotamia. Their cities, like Mohenjo-Daro, were marvels of urban planning with advanced sanitation. But there are no palaces, no royal tombs, no depictions of war. And their greatest secret, a beautiful, complex writing system that after a century of trying, remains completely undeciphered. History is a puzzle with countless missing pieces. For every civilization we've explored, there are others with deep secrets, like the builders of Great Zimbabwe in Africa, or the mysterious Nok culture and their unique terracotta heads. These ancient peoples remind us that the past is not a dead thing. It's a living mystery, with discoveries still being made every single day, waiting to tell us their stories, if only we can learn how to listen.
Ready to explore a fun new app? Welcome to Pirates Adventures. Let's walk through how it works and how you can get started with a special bonus. Inside the app, you'll find plenty of activities. You can use the referral feature to invite friends and track your progress in the Earnings tab. Explore the offer wall for new tasks and surveys. But here's a tip to get a great start. First, navigate to the Settings menu and tap on Get Special Reward. This screen is for promotional codes. You can enter this exclusive code. You can use this code with all the Givey apps. Just type it in and hit send. Now let's head back to the main screen, and there you go. A welcome bonus of coins has been added to your account balance, giving you a nice boost to begin. Download Pirates Adventures today and begin your coin collecting journey.
Subscribe, like, and hit the hype button to play our biggest game ever.
Every part of our modern world, from the money in our pockets to the mail in our inbox, had to be invented. It had to be the first. These aren't just moments in history, they are the fundamental ideas that built human civilization. The sparks of genius that transformed our world from scattered tribes into a global society. So let's open the book on human innovation as we count down the top 10 historical firsts. Before this, justice was arbitrary. But in ancient Babylon, King Hammurabi wanted to establish a single, unified set of rules for his entire empire. The result was the Code of Hammurabi, a list of 282 laws carved onto a massive stone stele for all to see. It covered everything from property disputes to family law. And while its eye for an eye punishments were harsh, it was the first time a ruler's laws were made permanent and public, creating a foundation for all future legal systems. For millennia, trade was done through bartering. I'll give you 3 chickens for that pot. It was inefficient and messy. The innovation came from the kingdom of Lydia in modern-day Turkey. They created the first standardized coins, small lumps of a natural gold and silver alloy called electrum, stamped with a seal to guarantee their weight and value. For the first time, value was portable, universal, and backed by a state. How does a massive empire stay connected? In the Persian Empire, Cyrus the Great created the answer, the Angarium, the world's first dedicated postal service. He established a network of roads and relay stations across his vast kingdom. Mounted couriers would ride at top speed from one station to the next, handing off their satchel of letters to a fresh rider. It was so efficient, historians said, that neither snow, nor rain, nor heat, nor gloom of night could stop them. For most of history, education was for the elite few. But in Fes, Morocco, a woman named Fatima Al-Firi used her inheritance to found something revolutionary, the University of Al-Qarawiyyin. It began as a mosque and madrasa, but grew to become the first degree-granting university in the world. It offered courses in everything from astronomy to rhetoric, attracting scholars from across the globe and pioneering the system of higher learning we know today. Books or scrolls were once the private property of kings and temples. The idea of a place where anyone could come to read and study was born in the greatest city of the ancient world, Alexandria, Egypt. Founded by Ptolemy I, the Library of Alexandria was an architectural marvel, but its true wonder was its mission, to collect all of the world's knowledge under one roof. It was the first true public library and research institution, a beacon of intellectual freedom. But sadly, it was all lost. For all of history, diseases like smallpox were a terrifying and unstoppable force. But an English country doctor named Edward Jenner noticed something strange. Milkmaids who got the mild disease cowpox never seemed to get smallpox. He formed a hypothesis, and in 1796, he performed a revolutionary experiment, taking material from a cowpox sore. It worked. The boy was immune. This was the world's first vaccine, an idea that has saved countless lives. It's the most important number, and for most of history, it didn't exist. How do you write 107? The concept of zero as a number and a placeholder was a profound mathematical leap. While debated, the first definitive use comes from ancient India. The mathematician Brahmagupta established rules for using zero in calculations, creating the foundation for the decimal system, modern algebra, and eventually all of computer science. For 99% of human history, we were hunter-gatherers, constantly moving in search of food. But around 12,000 years ago, in the Fertile Crescent of the Middle East, that all changed. Humans began to deliberately plant and cultivate wild grains like wheat and barley. This shift from hunting to farming, the agricultural revolution, was perhaps the most significant event in human history. It allowed us to settle down, build villages, and eventually create cities. This wasn't an invention. It was a harnessing of power. Early humans, like Homo erectus, likely captured fire from natural sources like lightning strikes. The true first was learning to control it, to keep it burning, and eventually to make it on demand. Fire changed everything. It provided warmth, protection from predators, a way to cook food, making it easier to digest and unlocking more nutrients. And it gave us the light to share stories in the darkness, forming the first communities. What makes us truly human? Many argue it's this: the ability to think symbolically, to create something that isn't for survival, but for expression. The first true art, discovered in Blombos Cave in South Africa. This small flake of stone is marked with a deliberate crosshatch pattern drawn with red ochre. It has no practical purpose. It is simply an abstract design. It is the first known time a human created an image purely from their imagination, a 73,000-year-old spark of consciousness. From abstract thought to the foundations of society, these first weren't just events. They were upgrades for all of humanity. Honorable mentions must go to the first wheel, which revolutionized transport, the first music, likely played on simple bone flutes, and the first surgery performed with sharpened flint. These ideas, once sparked, could never be uninvented. They became the building blocks of the modern world, proving that the greatest force in history is a new idea.
That was awesome, dude!